Hello, welcome. This is going to be a updated video that I'm going to make on these Shimano Dexe M-071 shifters. We're going to begin to work on the left side, which is the most immediate. So the reason I'm making this video is because I've got a pair that I want to set off, and just one of the mech for the free speeder side was not working. So I ended up finding someone that I swapped with a LX mech for a DX mech. Fortunately, the one that they gave me also doesn't work. It was really sticky, and I only really wanted just this plastic ring here that on my one was missing. Funnily enough, during the summer, I also bought some horrible bike, poor condition, and it just happened to have a DX shifter on it, so that was the reason why I bought that. Just to get these little parts on it, and it turned out that that one was also broken. In fact, the bolt was so stuck inside the shifter, I ended up having to break it out through the cap. It was just turning on empty, was not turning. So we're going to begin to work on the left shifter, and we'll make a better quality video than the one I've previously made. Something I failed to mention on my first videos was that you needed to remove the tension on the internal spring for one of the levers. So you need to put the gear down essentially before you start removing parts. The reason being is that obviously the cam or the springs will be positioned in a different order when you're going to remove it. So when you put it back in, it's going to be extremely difficult, and that was what I was not doing. So remove that there. Next, we're going to remove this screw, Phillips screw. I've already started to remove mine. So underneath, you should have had this spacer and the screw itself. There's another one here to take off. And now we can lift up that cover. Right here, you're going to have a number 10. It's a kind of like a nut with a ring. And that removes anti-clockwise. Underneath that, we have a copper washer. You'll have a spring there to unclip. We can take that out. Okay, now we can lift up this lever. There's going to be a pull here to remove. Underneath that is another washer with a ridge. It's more like a bushing. We've got this little screw here to take off. You'll notice that this lever now is undoing itself. Something's holding it. I think it was the pull from the lever that we just removed. So we're going to lift up this plate. There's this spring here that's in the way, that tab. And there's a spring. I think to go further we need to remove this bolt which is holding this in place. Let's remove the barrel adjuster. Let's take this out. So this part is a nightmare to get back in. Just mainly because of this little return spring that's inside. So that tip's going to go at the back. There's a little hole, and the part that's kind of sticking out, there's like a slot there where it can go in. Let's see, what should I do first? I think I'm going to take that part off. So this sprocket can be removed from the cam. There you go. And underneath that there's a copper washer. We can now take that out. So there's a copper washer at the back of that lever that can come off. I'm going to put those together, that way it's easier when we're going to put that back together. What's left in here is a pull, which we're going to remove. There's a little plastic nylon washer at the bottom of that pull. And then on this lever, there's this pull. This one doesn't seem to be too stiff, but we're going to clean it since we're here. So you need to get behind that tiny little C-clip. There you go. And on top of that, there's a tiny little plastic washer. It's quite funny, on the other shifters, later on they don't have that. So I've more or less kept things in a certain order. I've also just managed to take the ring that's missing on this shifter to put onto from another one. Really annoying actually, because to just get this you need to remove a ton of parts on the mech to access it. I'm not going to forget that. So I'll let you get on with cleaning and I'll do the same. Everything's cleaned. I ran out of degreaser, which is probably the easiest way to clean these little bits. So I ended up having to use WD-40, which is a little bit longer to do. So for greasing your parts, you do want to, I'm going to be doing it bit by bit, because if I greased all these little bits everywhere, they're going to be stuck on my mat. So grab the sprocket here, and you're going to want to put that into this position. Lay that flat. This part's a little bit tedious. So we're going to grab this spring. The tip that's kind of going straight downwards is going to go into, there's a tiny little hole here underneath the cam. And then the other tip of that spring that's facing outwards, that's going to be latching onto the shaft that runs through. Hold on, oh yeah, this way. And there's actually like a slot right here on mine anyway, and that other tip will go into that slot there. So let's install that spring, insert the tip into that little hole that I was talking about. You have to locate it. You won't be able to see it on mine very well because I've just put some grease. Okay, that's in. Right, so grab the lever that's going to go onto that shaft, and was a little bit ahead there. One of them is going to insert into the lever, so it'll be like this. You can prepare that now, put that underneath, goes first, and then there's another one that goes on top of that. Cool. Now hold that all in place. A little bit hard here for me to do this, so it's easier to do it the other way around so that things don't fall out. But this part here on the cam, that plastic bit, that's going to eventually go in between here, and it will be stopping on this end once the spring is tensioned. So what we want to do is we need to put the cam part here as closest towards there. And you'll see there's a teeth that needs to be inserted in. Okay, so that's the closest I can get it to. There you go. Yeah, so this is the closest you want to get it to. It is the good way to do it though. You see that part there, the metallic part should be really close here. I don't know how to describe that properly. But yeah, it needs to be as close there, and what's really annoying is that this lever gets annoying. You need to kind of move it out. There you go. And now holding this in place, what you want to do is you want to pull that back, and you'll hear it will slot into place at one point. There you go. You want that to seat into place. that part there. There, I've just done it, and if you do this, it will just snap back and forth. Very important that this part is seated at the back, where I showed before, and that it snaps back and stops in place, as this is that is your return for later on, and you want it to be properly spring loaded. Right, now that we've done that, we're going to put this part back onto the lever. We're going to screw it down. So before you do that, make sure that this lever is going towards there, and so it's stopping right there against the that pivot. We're going to also be putting that back in, and also, before I forget, we want to put that seal back on as well. So you should be able to still move the you should be able to still kind of lift up this lever, allowing you to do that. So it's going to be pointing roughly towards here. I mean, you can always just adjust that after, so long as it's holding in place while you put the rest in. Oh, I've just found out apparently there's two versions of the mechanism. I don't know if that was some sort of test run of theirs. Brilliant idea. And I'll show you in a second. Okay, that's tightened down. Yeah, so I didn't even notice this before. This is completely different on the interior, although they're both DX, same number as well, and the internals are way different. I think my video previously was this one, but I could be wrong. So we're going to find that out. I might have to do a separate video on this one. Let's put right here that there's a tiny little plastic ring and this pull. Let's put the ring first. Put a little bit of grease underneath there as well, don't forget. There you go. Grab the return spring for this lever. We're going to put it right there. There'll be one tip facing downwards. Again, if you want to put a bit of grease here, you can. So it'll be like that. And then we're going to put the spring back for this pull that we put on. So this tiny little spring there, there's one part that's kind of like a hook, and the other end is long tipped. And you want to put the long tipped part going in front of the pull right there. There's a little slot where it goes. Okay, that seems to be going just over the other one. Next, we've got this plate. There was a screw that screws down to here. That tiny little spring there for the pull is going to be hooking up just behind here, and the spring for the lever, we're actually going to have to not have it engaged there straight away. It looks like it's going to be easier to have that hook part of the spring is going to go over this one, I believe. And you'll see there's two teeth. Those two teeth are going to go in between those two slots right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert this on. We're going to engage the smaller spring first, and then we're going to have to try and bring this back onto there later after. So the smaller one I'm going to already put on. Don't know, maybe I can try and hook it like this. Okay. And that needs to be over there. Okay, I think we can push that all down now. Is that still engaged here? I think so. That's engaged. Okay, So once you've done that, we're going to then bring that little tip there and put it in front of the lever down here. Okay, looks like I've got it. Can I capture that on camera? Yeah. So you'll notice right there it's latched over underneath. Now we're going to screw this down. Grab the other lever now. We're going to install the pull on this one. Grab its spring. Looks fairly symmetrical either end. So one tip is going to go into the hole here at the back of this plate. Take the pull, and the other tip is going to go just in front of the metallic, the tip of the other side of the spring. So that should be reclining backwards. We had a tiny little plastic washer that went above this, and then we've got a C-clip that will slot into place, and you'll need a tiny or plier to keep it there. There was a bushing copper one that seats into the the lever here, and what we're going to do here is we're going to recline this back, and it is going to insert into the spacing between here. So if you get it like that, I reckon that will work. Move it about a little bit until it gets into there properly. I think that's in there. Now grab the it's the return spring for this lever. So the tip you'll see on the interior, there's a hole there at the back. And we're going to recline the other tip there into, well, actually you can see the copper color there of the ring in the back. That's where we want it to go. There, I think I've got it. Yeah. It does kind of pop out a little bit there. I remember doing this with I think it was the XT, it was very annoying. And to follow suit, we're going to have that copper colored washer, and finally this nut, weird shaped bolt. Hopefully nothing comes out. That's that return spring especially. Grab our number 10 wrench. There. Tighten that up a little bit. We're going to test it first. Okay, I readjusted the lever so that this one isn't hitting right there. And it looks like it's working, so we're clicking all the way back. There you go. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfect. Let's put the lid. It does look like between the two lids that the height's not the same. So the other version was slightly thinner. Interesting. Fortunately, these lids are extremely fragile and break very easily. Thank God they don't do that stuff anymore. Or at least the plastic seems a little bit harder, but at the same time, it's hard to compare because a lot of these shifters I'm working on have probably been left outside to the elements, the sun, the rain. Put that barrel adjuster on. Okay, oh, I forgot to put this lid. this shifter has finally been repaired. So it looks like everything's working. I'm quite happy that this is finally completed. So stay tuned for part 2 of the Shimano Deore M-071 shifter rebuild for the 7-speed side, and I do think it's worth making another video for the other version, the mech inside. So stay tuned for that as well. Peace out.